Right, I want you to introduce yourself. You were going to give a speech here today at Occupy in London about the Jamahiriya, about the Green Book, Gaddafi's Green Book. So please tell us what you intend to say when you give the speech.
I read some of the Green Book, and I read the parts that interested me in it. And only yesterday I found out that Egypt are actually interested in the Green Book. Now, it could be just rumour on Twitter, I don't know, but it raised a big smile on my face because when I read the Green Book, believe it or not, it came across to me as if it was a dream. If it was like a how I would want the government to rule, the leadership to rule it.
Okay, so just clarify that it's the Egyptian protesters in Tahrir Square that like the idea you saw on Twitter. And also, what did you like specifically? Give us one or two ideas in the Green Book that you were tangible, that would be good for us all.
Yeah, the beauty of it is the power is with the people. That is one of the things that I loved about it.
But we have a democracy here.
Do we? I dispute that. I refute that. I don't think we have a democracy in this country. I think we have a police state here in Britain. We have had for a long time, and we are spraying chemical weapons on protesters, peaceful protesters. So I don't think that's a democracy.
So how do the people have more power under the Jamahiriya than they have, say, in Britain?
By the people who are elected are actually elected by the people and not by politicians. And so people's conferences, they make these decisions. Very similar to how we're in Occupy Finsbury Square now. Very similar to how they already adapt a function a process that's very similar to the Green Book, whereby everybody has a say and everybody makes a decision. They all decide and they all vote on it. And so, effectively speaking, we already have part of the Green Book here in Occupy UK, as well as the rest of the occupiers across the world. So we already have that element there, and I strongly believe that before Occupy gets hijacked by some leaders or another who are funded by some Zionist organisation, more likely than any other, I believe that the Green Book is the best way forward for Occupy London, Occupy everywhere in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone's just discussed it at this point. At Wall Street, banksters being ripped off, imperialistic wars. Maybe the Green Book, Jamahiriya, could actually bring the power back to people.
Yeah, I strongly believe that.
Can it curtail capitalism? Because that's what's really gone wrong, the worship of money.
I think so. I think so because it's the people who those capitalists will have to answer to, and it's the people who make those decisions. So yes, I think it will have a massive impact on them. Whether it eliminates them or not, I don't know. What I do know is that Zionists are the bankers of the world, and Zionists rule the world, whether we like it or not. Now let's make things here very, very clear. Here, Zionism is racism, and Judaism is a religion. There's a massive difference between that. I mean, one way of me expressing Zionism is it's like a cult. It's like an extremist cult.
You are being interviewed, but I disagree with you. I think this is a mantra. I think we're all being brainwashed to being told that Judaism's religion and Zionism is something different. Yeah. I don't think so. I think that's a fraud. I think Zionism is Judaism personified. It's the real manifestation of the Judaic belief system, if I may disagree with you.
Many people will agree with you there, including people I've spoke to on Twitter, very good people. For example, Sid Walker, who I have strong respect for. Sid Walker is in Australia, and he speaks openly about Zionism, and he exposes them very well in his eloquent way that he comes across.
Yeah, but I was trying to get them off the hook. You know, you can't have some nice Jewish banksters running Bloomberg, when we're standing outside the lovely Bloomberg building, and pretend that it's not totally intimate with Zionism. It is. But let's see. What can I finally ask you? Tell the people that are watching where they can see you on the internet. Do you have a web address, a Twitter account?
I do. It's British Lebanese, one word. I've been on Twitter for a while now, but I started tweeting the Egypt revolution, which was magnificent to see. Such masses of people. Wonderful. I had a lot of enjoyment in tweeting that and exposing the Mubarak's dictatorship regime, which is a puppet regime that's dominated by no other than Zionism. Some people will say that America is the dominator. I dispute that. I strongly believe that America itself is an indigenous country that's a puppet of no other than Zionism itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, you know, I might be digressing, but the Twitter's quite alive now with Tahrir Square. You know, this Egyptocracy. Have you seen his tweets?
No.
And, well, there's loads of them tweeting from Tahrir Square. Is there Occupy tweets going on? Do you know?
Is there Occupy tweets?
Yeah, from here.
Oh gosh, yes. This one here is Occupy London, LFS Lima, Freddie Sugar. There is also the Occupy St Paul's as well. I only know these two. I go to these two quite regularly to get a good background on what's going on. And there are people there who are homeless, and there are people who have turned to drugs in their time, who are people who are targeted by the police force here in this country, who are picked on as a weak spot to infiltrate the Occupy and to demonize them, to get rid of them. But these people are victims themselves of what's happening.
You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist mostly, and I thought that when they allowed the Occupy movements when they literally just allowed them, that maybe it was just a digression from the genocide being performed on Libya. It was a way for, you know, people to grab the headlines, and if people want to protest, they can protest, you know, about banks instead of Libya. Do you think that's possible?
What's possible?
The Occupy movement was allowed to make itself known so that it could distract attention from what was being done to Libya.
I would not be surprised if they were using these as PR tactics. I always thought that this Occupy across the world was inevitably going to happen. They were going to copy what's happening in Egypt. I must admit, the Arabs, or I should say the Muslims, they have a stronger willpower than the British people, certainly the British people here, and they are more passionate and committed than the British people. The British people tend to be a bit stuck up and conservative, not as much as they used to be here, but I
mean, they're giving out free food, which is really nice,
yeah.
But you're obviously going to attract people if you're giving out free food. You're obviously not going to be left, you know, I just wonder, I don't know, I just wonder who's behind it all. But it's marvelous that it's going on.
It is marvellous, and people here are demonstrating democracy, real democracy, in the Occupy sites. They are making, everyone is saying what they want to say, everyone is being given time to speak, and you know, you have sign language whether you agree on something and so on. So that's a wonderful way of way forward for communicating and putting yourself across. This is happening now everywhere, and people are following it.
Okay, finally, anything you want to add on the Green Book? That I think, you know, any tangible examples would be helpful if you can recall anything.
The Green Book has been demonized by the Zionists and America so badly. I mean, you know, I remember when Ronald Reagan made that statement about Gaddafi being crazy, which is absolutely absurd. He said he's a mad dog. So they demonized him, they demonized his Green Book, and they put really...
But tell us something good about the Green Book. You've mentioned a couple of things, but mention anything more that you can.
Just the fact that it's giving power to the people. What do we want? We want that power. We don't want them to have this power,
no,
because they will corrupt it.
He said the Green Book, in our form of Western democracy, all that can happen is that you get a small minority ruling over everyone else. And he was right. in my opinion.
And they are, yeah. And they are corrupting their own little 1% elite.
Oh, they wouldn't have anybody in any power position unless they were corrupt. That's their rules. I want to thank you for your time. You've been marvelous.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
God bless you.
All right.
Shit, it didn't work out well.
It didn't work out well, did you say?
No.